everyone here joining us. I see some excited faces out there today. I would like to call the Regional School District 13 Board of Education meeting, May 8th, 2024 at 6:04 p.m. You can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was some great voices. It's much better than listening to ours trying to say it. Number 2, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Father John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Going fast. Presentations number 3. Yes, as I said, I think we have some exciting students here today from John Lyman here to give us a presentation. So I'd love for you guys just to come on up at this time.
Good evening. Want to say hello and thank the board for inviting us to share. It's May, so it was Lyman's turn, and I talked to Mrs. Sorensen. I said I would love, maybe we could have some kids from your class who might be interested in sharing with the board in May. And then she had some volunteers who stepped forward right behind me. And I just want to say real quickly, because they're going to do the talking. They have been working really hard to prepare for tonight. They're so excited. Every time I walk past Mrs. Sorensen's room at lunchtime, they're eating lunch together, they're getting ready. So they're going to talk to you tonight a little bit about how to prepare for an assembly, which is very timely because third graders will be hosting and sharing assembly in June. So I'm going to turn it over very briefly to Mrs. Sorensen, and then we're going to hear from our third graders. Also want to thank Mrs. Sorensen for joining us this evening too.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here tonight to talk about assembly. I'm not going to say too much now, but I might have a comment after we are finished sharing our news with you. Okay, so I'm going to turn it right over to our learners.
You can put your squeeze and you can pull it down.
Squeeze it up.
Hello, my name is Sam. We are going to teach you a little bit about how classes prepare for assembly. Assembly basically has 2 main things to prepare for: sharing and hosting. First, we will tell you a little bit of how we plan for a share. Then we will tell you what we do to prepare for hosting. So Amelia is going to start us off.
Hello, I'm Amelia. To plan out an assembly share, the first thing we do is talk as a class to decide what topic to share about. It is usually connected to something we have been focusing on in reading, writing, math, science, or social studies. We brainstorm ideas and then the class votes. We usually start the planning about a week before assembly. Lila will tell you a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Lila. I want to tell you how we decide on the different roles people play during a class share. The first thing we usually figure out is who feels comfortable with the speaking part. For kids who do not feel comfortable speaking, there are lots of other options, like playing a musical instrument, acting out a skit with movement, or being a stagehand. Then we work as a class or in small groups to write a script for what we want to say. Stella will tell you some more. Hi, I'm Stella. The next step is to figure out what extras we need. Sometimes we will create posters or props. We use colored scarves or simple costumes. Other times we use a slideshow to show pictures or a video from our learning. Now Blake will tell you more. Hi, I'm Blake. I'm going to tell you how we rehearse for assembly share. Usually we start practicing the share in our classroom. We'll pretend the classroom rug is a stage and run it through a few times. We try to keep shares about 5 minutes long so our teacher will time it and let us know if we're on track. The day before or the morning of assembly, we will go down to the actual stage of practice for real. Sometimes it seems a little crazy, like it isn't going to
going to come together, but it usually does, and it is a lot of fun. We always invite our parents to come watch when we share at assembly, and they enjoy it too. The other important part of assembly is the job of the hosts. Now we are going to tell you how we plan for them. Is usually about 5 or 6 kids who host at each assembly.
If you are the host class, it's your job to create the agenda and run the assembly. So the kids who are hosting will go to the classes who are sharing to find out what topics they are sharing about. They also find out what the special announcements will be, like literary board, art board, or go fall. Once we figure out all of that information, we start to write a script. Our job is to introduce each share or announcement, so we usually work the topic into how we introduce them. For example, if we were introducing the art board, we might pretend like we are drawing or painting.
There is also songs at assembly. We usually sing 2 songs. One song is the mystery song. It is a mystery because the teachers decide on it. The hosts get to decide on the second song. We have a whole bunch of assembly songs, but the most popular song is the pizza song or the caffeine bath.
One of the fun parts of being a host is coming up with a clever way to introduce Mr. Ford at the end of assembly. My favorite was when Miss McClure's class showed a picture of a Ford car.
Hosting is a lot of fun because you really get to be creative. And it is an important job because the hosts are the ones who keep everything going and signal the audience to quiet down if needed. The teachers try to give everyone who wants a chance to host at least once before leaving Latin. So now you know a little bit about the planning and prep that goes into assembly. This one more thing.
We want to let you know that all of 3rd grade will be hosting and sharing at assembly on Friday, June 7th, and we would like to invite you to come see it. Thank you.
I just have one thing. Late, how do I do this? I just want to let you know that our learners here worked so hard to put this together for you, but when we first discussed sharing information about assembly, we met for lunch and I said, okay, what do we do? What do we do to get ready for assembly, hosting and sharing? And they're like, well, and I just took notes. And it was very easy for them to speak of this. And I think it's because they're really invested, and they're invested because they have agency, right? So it's really an exciting, pretty important part of our time at Lyman. And so we're happy to share that with you.
Awesome. It's so great to see, my twins who are in 8th grade this year, came to Lyman their 1st grade year, and they didn't see a microphone or a stage before that time. And by the end of it, they were so happy to be on that stage, and they knew more to do, and they do better public speaking than I do. So I can't tell you enough how amazing it is to see all of you be able to get up there and do that. And it's not easy, but you make it look super easy. Thank you.
Awesome. Great job. In the spirit of Teacher Appreciation Week, Amy, thank you so much. Being a great teacher goes back a long way, long-lasting, real impactfulness on the kids. And I know from one of my 2 daughters, at least, from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Totally acceptable. Especially with all that hard work. Let's give them a second. I know what a word that is. Thank you.
Great job.
Hi, thank you. Okay, a little quiet in here. All right, so before we move on, I'll go do pension plan first, with Morgan Stanley, so. have you go
Great.
first.
No.
Hard act to follow, though.
Yes, not back to follow, but the good news is I got good news. So, things are going very, very well with pension plan. My name is Kevin Nichols, by the way. I'm the senior institution consultant with Morgan Stanley. We've been dealing with the pension plan for decades. I mean, I want to say it's probably almost 30 years now. My predecessor, who's since retired, took over the plan, I believe, in like the early 90s. So we have a long history with you. The pension plan has never been higher in terms of asset value. It's over $12 million right now. A big part of what we do is two things, really. One, make sure that the benefits can be paid. Obviously, that's the most important part of the pension plan. But two, make sure that we're invested in a way that provides stability for the budget. Okay, meaning that if you have assets that are swinging up and down with the market, because the market can be crazy at times, you have to put more money into the plan if the plan has a tough year, like it did in like 2022, right? Well, in 2022, this plan was down about 8%. Okay, and the market was down 20. So we've been averaging over the last 5 years over 8% net returns, which is higher than the 6.75 that you are expected from your actuary to receive. So that's really good because it puts less pressure on the district to have to put in money as part of their budget, right? The second thing is that we want to make sure we're protecting the funded ratio. So right now you're about just under 90% funded. Okay, we want to work to be over actually 100, a little like 100% or even a little bit over 100% funded. And that means that we have enough assets to pay future liabilities. That's all that means. It doesn't mean we can shut down the plan because the liabilities continue to grow. We need the assets to continue to grow. But the higher we get closer to that 100% funded, the less risk we have to take because we've achieved the goal that we've stated to have in terms of the benefits that we have promised the members of Regional School District 13. So I know you got a big agenda. I just want to keep this very, very quick. I've passed out some materials here. There are some changes that we want to make in the portfolio. Okay, so right now we're basically 70% stocks, high quality stocks, 30% high quality fixed income. Because the stock market has gone up so much, really, we want to have, and because the funded ratio has maintained or gone up a teeny bit since the last actuarial evaluation, we want to reduce risk. So we want to take 5% of the portfolio away from U.S. stocks and put it into investment grade short-term corporate bonds. It's about $600,000 of the portfolio. Now, why do we want to do this? Well, if you look on page, let's start on page 3. Okay. You can see on the left-hand side here, this nice little chart. Market's gone straight up since October 23. All right. Why has it gone up straight up since October 23? Just to be honest, beats me. Because if you look on the right-hand side, earning estimates haven't gone anywhere. They've been flat. So earnings aren't getting better. The economy is not getting that much better. The economy's okay. We're doing fine. But it's not like we're growing, GDP is growing. GDP is actually contracting right now. Unemployment's ticking up a little bit. Inflation's actually going up a little bit, which I can show you in a few other slides. You want to turn to page 5. One of the things that people were expecting going into the beginning of the year was the Fed's going to cut rates, right? The Fed's going to be very accommodative. And they were expecting about 7 rate cuts going into this year. That's less than 2 now. So the optimism of a Fed being accommodative to the market has really diminished a lot. If you want to go to page 10, this is the big reason that we want to not take as much stock risk. Well, there's 2 reasons I'd say we don't want to take much stock risk as we have in the past. One is bonds are paying something, right? We're getting actually 5.5% on our bond portfolio right now in terms of overall yield. That's interest that's coming in, and then capital appreciation of the bonds, because we're buying a lot of these bonds at discount to their value and holding them to maturity. And when we look at this is saying that the equity risk premium, all that it is it's the earnings yield of the S&P 500, which means the extra risk you should be rewarded for by taking risks in stocks over bonds, because stocks are just more volatile, have more swings than bonds do. Right now it's at 53 basis points, which means it's kind of a toss-up between stocks or bonds, like which one do you want to be in? And basically, because stocks have gone up so much, because the earning yields come down, because you can get so much yield in bonds, we want to move, that's why we want to move a little bit more to the bond portfolio. If we go to page 16, that's another good one, just talking about earnings estimates. You can see on the left-hand side, they've actually come down for 2024. They've remained relatively stable for 2025. Page 21, Morgan Stanley's S&P 500 target is actually right in the middle here. It's about 4,500 in this yellow box, okay? Whereas the rest of Wall Street really thinks that we're going to be in this red box here. We're going to be up in the 5,500s. We're not always right. Morgan Stanley's not always right, but I'd rather be cautious and wrong than risky and wrong, because especially when we're talking about benefit payments, when we're talking about the funded ratio of the plan, it's better to be more conservative and have to worry about worse markets going forward than miss out on an upswing market, because we're still going to go up. Markets go up, we're still going to go up. We're not giving up on stocks. We're just saying be a little bit more conservative as we move forward. And then the final one, if we look at page 31. This is the valuation of the U.S. relative to other places in the world. And you can see that, as we kind of came out of the financial crisis, there's a much tighter range. And then after 2020, after COVID, basically the U.S. got this premium to the rest of the world that it has not relinquished since. So the amount of earnings that we're paying per dollar of investment here in the U.S. is a lot higher than it is abroad. So one of the things that we're going to do is continue to keep our international and emerging market allocation the way that it is, and take that 5% from U.S. stocks, because we feel like they've gotten a little bit too far ahead of themselves. Any questions about that? You just go after tab 1, just so we can kind of get into. You look on page 4. You can see the asset allocation in the upper right-hand side. There is a sleeve that's on there on the asset allocation that says alternatives. I want to be very transparent about this. You do not own any hedge funds, private equity funds, anything illiquid. Alternatives are just for the tax structure of certain investments like real estate investment trusts and master limited partnerships, which are just energy pipelines. They're all listed on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. They all can be traded every single day. It's just their tax structure is alternative. So that's why they're bucketed in that alternative part. But it's basically just add that to the equities is really what you want to do. So again, you're over 70% equity, around 30% fixed income. And this is as of month end here. So you're just under 12 million. And as of yesterday, you're at $12.21 million in total fund balance. And then on the lower right-hand side, one of the hallmarks of our investment philosophy is we want to make sure that we have enough secure, reliable, and growing streams of income to help with benefit payments. Because the higher income that we can receive, the less we have to take from principal to spend on benefits. So right now, between the contributions that the school district's putting in and the employees are putting in, it's about $500,000, okay? The benefit payments that go out, though, are $600,000. This is a net spending portfolio. $100,000 has to come out of the portfolio, every single year to pay for all the benefits. Well, we're getting $317,000 just in income. So when you come to us and say, hey, we need that $100,000 to pay for benefits, we don't have to sell stocks or sell bonds. We're getting it straight from the income that the portfolio is producing, which allows us to continue to be invested, not have to sell in times of market stress, and can have this continue on to perpetuity. Any questions?
The suggestion to go from 67% in equities to.
So it's basically gonna go from 71%. I want to take it down to 65% stocks and move up to 35% bonds.
Both corporate and municipal? Or
Just corporate. So because it's a tax exempt entity, we don't invest in municipals. They're not, there's no tax advantage to doing
Right.
that. So, and the yields that you get on corporates are just higher right now than municipals anyways. So it's treasuries and corporates. Happy to go over other parts of the report, but I understand in the full agenda, so I'm going to be respectful of that.
A lot. A lot of numbers, which as budget season, we've been looking at numbers a lot, but it all looks really encouraging.
Yeah, I'd say that the things to take away are the pension fund balance has never been higher. You're at 90%, funded, which is really spectacular. And it's like much higher than the average in the state and obviously much higher than the average, nationally as well. State average is around 7. I think the national average is like 55 or 60 or something. It's pretty poor, unfortunately. We are earning more per year than what your actuary is assuming that we have to earn, which is great for the budget in terms of you should be putting in going forward a little bit less from the school district side than you would have been expected to, because we've been earning more than the assumed rate of return.
I imagine when this board meeting is over, most of these folks are gonna run home and read this cover to cover and work through it. And if you come up with any questions, please send them to Kim and we'll get the answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
A
Yeah.
little sarcasm there, but I'm seriously, there may be questions that come up later.
If
Yeah.
there is, please, reach out to you. You can reach out to me directly. My information is right on the cover here. All right, so you can give me a call, shoot me an
Yeah,
email.
it was interesting when I saw Kim had asked to put it on the agenda for tonight. I just recently had a meeting with Cape's board of directors and we had all gone around. We're talking about pensions and how things are doing and there's some that just are not doing well. So it's great to see and it's a testament to hard work. So we really appreciate it.
I mean, listen, it's been great working with the district for so long and it's just great to see that, it's a healthy pension. That's the best part.
Kim, how many people do we have on this pension now?
I think it's about 140.
Kim either.
Never mind, yeah.
Thank you.
And how many retirees are in it now?
There's more active than retirees. I want to
Yeah.
say retirees are somewhere around like 40 or 50, something like
That's
that.
good too.
Yeah, so that's good too, because the actives are putting in 5% of their pay
Yeah.
into the pension plan every single year.
And this board's commitment to funding the average, the ADAC, what is that, annual, whatever, the contribution.
Actuarial determined
Determined
employee contribution.
It's our
Employer
yearly, contribution to the pension, and so that's somewhere around 350,000, it changes, each year, but the board's commitment to doing that every year is what's keeping us funded at 90%. We want to continue that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
No problem.
I know I can pick Bob's brain later. Might have a question out of it. Hopefully it
Yeah,
won't
if
be
you have
right
any
away,
questions, please, call me, email me. I'd love to answer it. But you guys are doing great and thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. You shut that to the.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So before I enter into public comment, I just wanted to say, most of I think I texted just about everybody last night, or emailed, but that our budget passed both Middlefield and Durham last night. So we don't have to come back and talk about numbers for this a little bit until the project, but very exciting. Yeah, they were, I was down in Durham at the polls and luckily, Michael Scalps, from Board of Finance from Middlefield was over there, so he needed our numbers and I needed theirs, so they've given them back and forth. So I just want to say thank you. The amount of meetings and, John, we're just talking about it all day, the consuming budget season is, and he's a little tired. We're all a little tired. And I also want to, I don't think we've acknowledged it since, haven't had a meeting since, but I want to acknowledge Amanda's retirement from the board. She did send a letter of resignation to us and the Board of Selectmen. And I've been, we got a phone call from, well, I think we got an email from the town clerk asking for our opinion on how to fill the vacancy. So they very quickly realized that the district does not have anything to do, or the board does not have anything to do with electing a vacancy for the Board of Education. And there's some preliminary numbers out, but they do have to fill the vacancy at town meeting within 30 days. So they're going to call that sometime between now and Memorial Day weekend, and they will elect via town meeting of the electors, just similar to any other vacancy. The only other question that's up in the air with the town attorney, I guess, is that Amanda's position was one of the first ones that was elected at the polls. And so the state statute says that we have to fill the vacancy right away via town meeting. But that come the next general election, that vacancy then goes on the ballot. So we could look at having to have a vacancy filled between now and December for that term. And for it to go on the ballot for a 1-year vacancy to fill out Amanda's term until 2025. So that could mean we have 2 board members. But hopefully it's not, we have 1, but we have a great team here. So I just want to give you an update on that. And again, we don't have anything to do with it. We did have our Shipman and Goodwin, the town attorney, and the town clerk and Cabe all in an email. So I just wanted to be like, here, everyone have a contact and go figure it out. So it's in good hands. And when I hear anything, I can let you all know, or we'll see it via the town. Yeah, I say happy Teacher Appreciation Week. It's been fun. I was at Strong the other day for their luncheon, and it's amazing to see what the PTOs do, because they're phenomenal, and the teachers really appreciated it. It was Monday, so the teachers were all not wanting to bring food that day anyway, so they had an entire slate of food, and it's good to see the teachers. I think next year it'd be great if we could all spread out between those luncheons and just sit and talk to teachers. It was nice to talk to some of the teachers from Strong when I don't get to talk to. Julie Sass and I sat there for the lunch wave, so that's pretty fun. All right, with that, I'll take public comment. We have public comment in the room. Thank you.
Hey, you got it. I'm resident here in Durham and a current board leader. As we talk about the 2024 structure, I want us to think about how 2024 is going to affect 2025 and 2026. And I'm hoping that there's plans in place to make sure that those kiddos who were so adorable earlier, that when they're in 5th and 6th grade at Strong, that there will be a scheduled recess in addition to lunch, that they will have playground equipment to spend that recess playing on, because that currently, as far as I know, there's no scheduled recesses at Strong or playground equipment for students to access during that recess time. And that with 4 grades in the building, there will be enough time for everyone to have PE on a weekly schedule. So I think that's really important for these growing bodies. All those things I think are currently not in place at Strong. So for me to support a reconfiguration plan, those things are going to be pretty important for the time being, because we don't want to sacrifice these kiddos' well-being in the short term for other kiddos' well-being in the long term. As we're also planning to ask teachers to move buildings possibly 3 times in 4 years, I hope there's also a staff retention plan in place, so we can show these teachers how much we appreciate them and how much we appreciate all the change that they're going to be going through as well, because we know that teachers are the most important thing in a child's educational experience. Research has shown that. So we want to make sure that those teachers are feeling safe and respected and listened to during this process as well. So it's not a question, but it is a challenge because I know this reconfiguration plan is coming up in less than a month. And I think we all need to know what all we're going to be voting for when that comes up. So I look forward to hearing those plans too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other in the room? And I don't see any online. that, I'll post public comment. Approval of the minutes for the Board of Education regular meeting, April 3rd. Board of Education public hearing, April 3rd. And the Board of Education special meeting, April 17th, 2024. And I was in the office when Kim was going through these for us to make sure they were up. I did have a chance to look at them yesterday. I don't know if anyone else had any changes. I did not see any and didn't expect to with Kim's eyes on them, but I'll take a motion to approve them together.
So moved.
Linda? Second, by Bob. And any changes or concerns or opening of cans?
Sorry.
Just kidding. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Maura,
Aye.
we got superintendent report.
Thank you. Not a whole lot to share tonight, and some of it is repeat. In terms of the reconfiguration update, really nothing new to report, except that if you recall, way back in February, when we put out for Kevin to employees their assignments for next year, we called them preliminary, because they were, and they technically still are, but we gave the caveat that they were subject to a successful budget referendum, and also that they had been linked to the budget that we had proposed, and you all kept everything in place that we had proposed in that area that impacted those three schools, and the budget is passed. So hopefully that's some peace of mind for those employees to have a greater sense of certainty in terms of not just what school they'll be in, but what grade level and different assignments. And just a reminder that although we don't expect those to change, there could be changes made, especially, and I don't want to make Jen the villain, but in special ed, there are changes all the time through the PPT process and through the identification of different children's needs, and also people moving in and out. And so those folks have again a preliminary assignment that Kevin gave them with Jen's support, but that, as I think we've told you many times, will often change during the school year. So it wouldn't be surprising if some of that could change between now and the start of next school year. In terms of other updates, just a few, and some of these have already been made, but I'll repeat them just because my segment, I want to say it too. I want to thank all of our teachers. They're not here anymore, but it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and to thank those that have made it so special. We've got a lot going on in the district. A lot of parent-teacher organizations are doing a lot for the schools, and the schools themselves are doing things. And we've Stephanie and Liza were doing some daily gift card giveaways with his little wheel spins, and you think things like that are not that big of a deal, but when I'm in the schools, people are making it a big deal, especially if they win. And I love the fact that you guys are not letting anyone win a second time. You're taking them out of the stack when somebody gets that gift card. What is it? Dairy Serve, Amazon.
Yeah, Dairy Serve, Amazon, and Dunkin'.
And Dunkin'. So how do you miss with those things? In terms of the budget, I want to thank the board. It was a lot of meetings, a lot of scrutiny. Maybe sometimes it feels like overkill, but I feel like we had a very good budget. I want to thank the rest of the staff as well. I especially want to thank Kim and her staff. They do the lion's share of putting it all together every time we ask them for information or suggest something else. And you all just see when it gets to you in February, there's a whole run up to that starts back when, in like November, October. Yeah, it kind of feels like we just do this year round. And also, and I think you all know this, but I just to give Kim another shout out, we celebrate that the budget is passed, and we should, but that's just the budget on paper. She then has to manage it with the expenditures and the revenues throughout the year, and is constantly sending messages to us about, hey, this line is looking a little bit low. We might have to hold back. And again, that doesn't always make her the most popular person. But we all appreciate that she does that. I also want to thank, the math hasn't changed since Lindsay texted us the other night. The 901 people who voted in yesterday's referendum. I would especially like to thank the 506 that voted yes, but also thank the 395 who voted no, because it's the democratic process, and kind of wish we could get more people in voting on something that is such a large impact on our community, and also such a large impact on the town budgets, as we hear all the time.
It was interesting. I saw the numbers and from recent years, I was like, you know what? So I went in and I looked all the numbers from 2018 to current. And I'm like, I wonder if there's like a big discrepancy. And it's consistently
normal.
between 600 and 700 every time for just Durham. I didn't have time to look at Middlefields, but there was one outlier, it was like 1,200. And someone asked, well, what happened that year? And I realized it was when they put corn on the, for acquisition of corn for the town. So that had nothing to do with the budget, but it is something I think that a lot of it's on the towns, a lot of it's on us, but I think if we talk to the towns and see if it's an engagement thing, I think sometimes it's an oversaturation. I know all of us have looked at every one of those budget slides like 10 times, at least publicly. So, but it would be good to look at, and it's hard to know that there's that many thousands of people that live in the two towns, and only those come out. But we take what we can.
The voting could not be more convenient. I mean, I think I was in and out in 30 seconds or something like that. I went at a low time.
It does seem like they're going to continue to honor the 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the budget, and any like annual referendums. It will just be referendums that from now on that like we call that are out of the ordinary, that would then be 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it's by state statute, they're allowed to do that. It was nice that they didn't do that for the plan amendment coming up, because I think it would be tough. But I think both towns have to have like a public hearing with their towns and make sure that the public's aware that that's what they would be doing if they choose to do it. But it would be interesting if Middlefield decides not to go with those hours, but Durham does. So hopefully there's some consistency.
I agree. And, I have the opportunity about once a month when I'm able to go to the chamber. And we had that meeting this morning. And of course, they were all congratulating me for the budget. I really can't take the credit. It's all hands on deck. But when I have a chance to share, I was just telling them about all the things we've accomplished in the last few years. Some of them are more like physical with the campus, the picket lane, and even with what Durham has done with the community center, but also, the field house and the hope of, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, the lights in the bathrooms and things that just give us a lot of pride. And to remind that, I mean, I know you were halfway joking about rain and not being able to play a game today or whatever, but, we unapologetically put that stuff in the budget. You all supported it. And those things are going to get better. And I think those things are really important. I also disappointed them because they wanted to pepper me with questions about the 3-school option in the referendum. And I had to tell them I'm not allowed to talk about that in that setting. And that is frustrating, but you all have gotten information about how you are and aren't allowed to advocate. And so you all being the board members, not the staff members. And so to the extent that you're comfortable doing that, because I'd like to see another good result on June 11th. A couple more things, just a reminder that next month we're a week early because of graduation. So our meeting is on June 5th. And that's a really nice annual board meeting, I think, because we get to recognize retirees. I'm not sure they all want to be here, but they usually come and allow us to recognize them. And I think that's important. And also graduation itself, if it's not on your calendar already, June 12th. And that is a rain or shine event. If you recall last year, we did it indoors. We're not going to move the date, which I think is really good for families and staff and everybody, and even us. But if you can participate, we would love to have you there. And I'm going to yield the end of my report to Jen Keene, who you may have noticed has a little friend sitting next to her. This is the Michaels Cup, and I'm going to let her explain what that is and why that's such a great honor for our district.
Full week of just smiles and happiness for me. So I wanted to share it all with you. This is the Michaels Cup. It is a unified sports cup that was presented to us. Cog Unified Sports, of course, led by Rob Ajuris, and his amazing students, last week at the CIAC, Unified Banquet. So this is the most prestigious award that, the Special Olympics Connecticut gives to the unified sports participants, and it is to honor those teams that exemplify the qualities of inclusion, participation in unified sports with other teams, development of student leadership skills, supporting entire school communities, and the programs. I have to put my glasses on, excuse me. So, and it, they also give it to programs that serve as examples to other schools. And certainly Cog has been a model unified inclusive school for many other schools in the past several years. So we are very proud of our unified sports and campus programs, as you all know, and we just continue to grow in that area. And again, just wanted to share this with you. So we will have this trophy until next year, until it's awarded to some other district, but they also gave us a banner to hang in the gym that will remain there with the rest of our banners. So
It was
the kids
pretty
were
exciting to see it on,
very excited and proud. So if you
Special
haven't
Olympics
seen the
had
picture of
posted.
them, please let me know and I'll share it with you. And you can jump on Facebook. There's plenty of them there, but it was a very exciting night.
We had some students accept it, right?
What's that?
We had a number of students there to accept it.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
They were hams. It was
Oh, yeah,
very
they
cool
were.
to see.
Yes, they were thrilled. It was, it's quite an honor. And what was really nice about it, even before we were front and center, we had 3 tables, with strong and, Cog and Chog, students, families and staff. And, even before the event, our unified, participants, learners are so comfortable in that arena at this point that they're rubbing elbows and talking to all the big wigs of Special Olympics and CAAC, staff, and it's thrilling to watch the interactions and the leadership that has come about from the program. So, and just another little tagline to go with that. Our unified team from Panama will be with us at the end of the month. They will be arriving May 28th and staying until June 1st. So if you're around, I will share our itinerary for that week with all of you if anybody wants to join us for any events.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We're
See if
excited
we
for
can
that
make sure we have some coverage from the press,
coverage from
the TV coverage.
press. No, we can try.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think that they'd be interested.
Well, this is a very big deal.
Yeah,
So we've been working for Special Olympics Connecticut, Special Olympics International, Special Olympics Panama. We've been working with the State Department and very and so yes, I do think we might have some press and whatnot. So, to be determined. Hopefully they won't want to interview me. I'll let Rob, I'll let Rob handle the interviews. And the students, of course.
Doug, Lindsay and I talked to you the other day about the curriculum for the 6th grade. I just wondered if you could share that with the rest of the board, our concerns, or I could share them. And if you've had a chance to talk about it among the staff.
Yeah, we have, and Cheryl is lined up to come to Student Achievement on the 22nd and give a full briefing on that.
The issue that we had was that the 6th grade was going to get science and social studies for half a year. They had limited, the study halls were back in that we asked to be eliminated at Strong School. And so we were concerned that, we ought to take a look at this and make sure that, this is appropriate, for our students as they get into Strong School, that they're not, are we changing the curriculum so much that, they're not gonna be able to handle it, and some of the benefits that we found in Strong School is that the students love the extracurricular activities, the cooking and the gym and the tech, and those things made their day. And, to not to have it in 6th grade, means that they won't have the same experience as they enter Strong School. And I think it's important. Strong School is our toughest school, and the more we make it comfortable, the better I think that they will get through Strong School, with some speed and some enjoyment. And hopefully that, adding some extra points, extra courses or extra classes on some of the technical stuff is important to them.
And for those, just to highlight it, so I'm sure Cheryl will come and I did talk to her briefly, and she's got an idea, and I think there is some things within that schedule that we don't really know yet based on electives and how those might happen that weren't really kind of given to the kids. But the upcoming 6th graders, the 5th graders did an orientation at Strong School, and so there was a little bit of concern that the schedule had changed drastically because of maths, ELA, and then social studies / science for the first periods of the day, 80-minute periods with related arts, music, and what seems like a study hall at the end of the day after lunch. So again, we're not the teachers, but we just want to know that what they're getting is what they need. And I think it's important for Student Achievement to really look at it, because it is a big change from their current schedule. And we do want to make sure that, one of the priorities that we had on the board at the time, and I think still is a priority, we're going to get to goals and objectives in a little bit, but that those electives were still happening. And I think a big part of it is that those 5th grade parents, a lot of them are apprehensive about Strong. And like we said, it's something publicly, just everyone kind of feels that way. It's a tough leap, and we're going to work hard to really kind of dispel those and support the staff and the students to have a good experience there. We just want to make sure that does that. But a lot of those parents, they've said, oh, we're excited for Strong because those 6th graders that are currently there are raving about the electives. So the parents are meeting with Cheryl too, I think this week. Tomorrow. So the parents are going up and they're going to meet with her. So she might be able to explain a little bit more to the parents even before she comes to Student Achievement. I wish we kind of done it the back way and kind of like talked about it beforehand, but things happen and it's been a busy year. Yeah, we're hopeful that that's what is best for the students. And Cheryl was very open with me and just said, if it's not going to work, if there's concerns, then we'll pivot and figure it out. A lot of it has to do with what she said about giving more instruction under ELA and math. So I know I have a lot of questions. So I know Student Achievement will have a lot of questions, but that'll be.
Encourage you to come to Student Achievement.
Yeah, anyone that can come, that'll be good to hear. And we want those, especially with knowing that the possibility of this building approval going through, that, the possibility that Doug had said about 5th grade going up to Strong, or the likelihood. We just want to make sure that our 6th graders this year have good experience so that 5th graders are excited to come there for that. Yeah.
I can circle back to 6A, Doug.
Yes.
The configuration. At the last meeting, there was some concern with public comment about teachers needing to use their own time to pack up and put things in boxes and get ready for the move. I mean, have you reached out to the administrators of those buildings affected to just possibly present something to the people that don't want to use their own time? I mean, many want to, as you stated, but is there a way that they can get a couple hours as the school year comes to a close to just say, okay, I'm going to do this without infecting their class and their students, like some outdoor event where maybe other teachers can cover it, like, okay, you guys go do some packing. It's chaotic either way, but
Well,
yeah,
you'd
just
made
wanna
that
make sure we-
suggestion last month, and we did forward that along.
So
to
something
them.
is. moving
Well, I
forward.
don't want to say that there's something exactly as you've described. What they've done is they've gone back and they want to make sure that they're addressing individual concerns. Because again, some are already packing and are making it work, and others don't even want to think about it for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And we want to respect every opinion that's there, and if somebody can't pack, we will do it for them.
Yeah.
So no one is going to be required to do it, but the majority of people do not want somebody else packing, quote unquote, their stuff. It really isn't their stuff, it's the district's stuff. I'm not talking about personal items, but curriculum materials and things like that. But yeah, they are sensitive to that, and we did share about the public comment and the concerns that have been raised.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, our esteemed finance. Kim.
I know.
Right? Yeah, it's very nice. I mean, I think a lot of, a well-deserved, kudos to Ken, as Doug said. We are ever grateful for not just your financial brain, but your business brain and your emotional support brain when we need it. How many times I've walked in and be like, hey, can you talk? Thank you.
That she's hiding under the desk.
Yeah, never.
We ended off the month of April year to date, 78% expended in the general fund, 99% of our budget is encumbered, and we've received 81% of our budgeted revenue. There's two other items that I just wanted to discuss. One is the field house, the state grant for the lights in the bathroom. So I did have a conversation with the state on April 23rd, and then I did speak to Howard, the building committee chair, on the 25th and kind of updated him on this state conversation. The state has approved our lighting bid waiver for Musco, so we have already issued a purchase order to Musco. We're on their calendar for August. So the lights are going forward. The one issue that we came up with was in the past, sometimes these grants were broken up by what they were, and then prevailing wage was determined based on the two individual pieces. The Department of Labor says, no, it's prevailing wage because of the total amount. So what that does is that increases our costs for both our lights and our bathrooms. So we are fearful that we will not be able to do all our bathrooms with the state grant. So the plan, and the state agrees with this plan. I've run it by them. I run it by the building committee. I told them I would, speak to you guys, and we'll come up with a definite plan at our next meeting on the 15th. But there's a couple things that we can do, because we do have that agreement with the neighbor. We need to meet the spirit of that with the bathrooms. We do have funds in the field house initial capital reserve account that we can put in 2 bathrooms, 2 permanent bathrooms, and then do the lights. And then with any money that's left over from the grant from the lights, we then will expand the bathrooms. So putting in those 2 bathrooms with the idea, those would be 2 unisex bathrooms that would be there anyways, and then build the larger bathrooms out with the grant funds, whatever we could do. So I have our attorney checking to make sure that's correct. And I've also reached out to Durham Planning and Zoning to make sure that that's all. Okay, so waiting to hear back on that. Building committee thinks that's a good way to go. The other alternative though would be that either we do it now or we do it later, is fund the full bathroom project without prevailing wage and pay for it out of board funds, which is running about $150,000. So I'm sure no one wants to do that, but that's just another option. we wouldn't be subject to prevailing wage. With prevailing wage, it's about $220. So that's just another, we were hopeful that we weren't gonna get criticism that we only had 2 bathrooms. And, you know, with all the people coming, but if we phase it, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 3 would be, expanding on those bathrooms, and people knew that was gonna happen. You know, we could explain it that way, obviously, that there's only 2 bathrooms, and that's to meet the lawsuit,
And I think when we talk about, and Kim and I had a discussion about it, and I think it's just looking at responsible use of the grant funds at this point. That amount of money would take out from the money we can spend on the lights. And I know that there'll be 2 bathrooms there, and you know, some events will still have to have a few porta potties until we are able to do that. But I just think it's a responsible way of satisfying what we need to do in order to be able to let Musco put the lights up, and still have those bathrooms, which will be utilized during practices and probably even most games. It's just not the bigger events, until we can get through that and then be able to use that money.
and with that, because the Musco project is prevailing wage as well. But we will have, I say that as long as we don't run into any unforeseen circumstances, but there will be, I'm estimating between $80,000 and $100,000 left in the grant. After the lights that we can then put towards bathrooms. So it's not like the lights are gonna take the whole grant. It's just at this point, an RFP, and we just don't have the money to do the bathrooms before the lights. Because then we will have your light money. So if that wouldn't, I think you explained it right, but when it comes down to it, we can't separate those 2 out. We need to be able to separate them out. Because most people going through these projects don't have former stipulations and lawsuits to adhere to. So this is the best way to do it, to make sure that these student athletes and the district get what they've been waiting for as long as we have, and be responsible. And as you know, things don't happen by coincidence. That day that I was talking about the prevailing wage, and that I read in the Harvard Business Journal that projects, DECD grants, people are just having to pass on them. Thanks, no thanks, because they can't do it with the prevailing wage. So it's not just us. It's, you know, what they get you with that prevailing wage. And like I said, back in, and there are some attorneys that chimed in and said, yeah, they used to separate it out, and now they're not. They're saying it's a whole project. So
did Musco give us a schedule for how long from start to finish on it?
I'm sure Eric has that, but they said they're actually running ahead of schedule.
That's what I thought,
So we're gonna be good on that. We just have to get the bathrooms.
So we foreseeing that both of those are gonna be ready before the beginning of the football season?
For the first game,
Hope
that's
so.
the hope, yeah.
Yep.
And we just
Right
want-
now, it looks like
yeah. We just want to make sure that you all are okay with, like, I think we all had this vision of all the bathrooms, the lights, it's all done. You never see a porta john on that campus again, except maybe in a track meet or something like that, but that won't be it. And you know, people might ask us questions about that, but I think the counter is, in the absence of that, we're either spending a lot of extra money that we don't have budgeted currently, or we're not getting the lights in for the start of the season potentially, and that, I don't think any of us want to see that.
Well, there's certainly gonna be increased revenue that comes in from the stadium the minute those lights go in, because we're gonna see attendance go in still.
there were a few other things in the agreement with the neighbor that I just need to make sure we've met or can meet still. Something like, you know, things about timing, the PA system, and some things like that. So we just have to meet those kind of things. We can do that. So we'll get that done. So just, if the board has an objection to us just looking at doing the 2 bathrooms, and then, you know, let me know. Otherwise, I will talk with the building committee and get their opinion on it. And
I think the building committee ought to look at it, making sure that the 2 would fit in with the final plan.
Yeah, that would
They
be
said
my
it would.
question.
Yeah, that's the intention. It's just
Yeah.
2 of what,
Right,
2 of what the 4 that,
right.
and it would be within that site plan of what the. they had envisioned.
And Eric has the prints, and he's getting the formal quote. He did give me, it would be under $50,000. And probably even less than that. But the 2 bathrooms. And so we will have the building committee look at it. But when I did talk to Howard, he seemed to think that was the way to go. That way we can get the lights in. But you disagree, I want to know that and I can report back to them. Okay.
Yeah,
Building was used for the first time at Marty Roberts.
it was.
They used it for registration, so
Wow.
they, you know, it was the first time it was opened and people could see it. So I think people were anxious to
Right.
continue to use it.
It was exciting. I was there, Bob and I were there for a good portion of the day. And it was amazing to see all of the returning teams comment on it and go, where's the slab in the fence? And, you know, a lot of them joked about it, but really, they truly said that the campus has been transformed and there were a few that were a little jealous. Assistant principal from one of the schools I talked to for a while, he's like, oh, we love this, and was going around it. I'm sure it's John's cupolas, yeah. Yep. So I think it's an exciting thing, and they had said too, just coming up that road and having it be paved and you know, as much, it's so neat to see the bench warmer screens on the tennis courts. I didn't envision it to see how much it makes the hip hop coming up the road. It looks great. The baseball road's
That
done.
baseball road is
And,
a game changer,
Yeah.
the game changer.
It's nice to be able to see and not going up ruts, going up that road and yeah. Pretty exciting.
One last thing I have is just a point of information. I did get a call, it was about a month or two ago, that there was property on Main Street, right across the street from Pickett Lane, that's potentially for sale. Asked if we were interested in it at all. I didn't think we were, just simply because of what we have going on Memorial, but I'm just putting that out there if we ever wanted
Is it the
something
one that's
for.
dilapidated down to nothing?
Oh, no, this would be
Right
onto the,
across the
if you're going down Pickett towards Main Street, it's on the left, right?
Yep.
Right across the property on the left, adjacent to Strong.
And it was gonna go out to sale,
Or
but
just
they all,
property? The house, there's the property for sale.
well, both. There is another neighbor there that would need to retain the right of way, but they just thought if we had any need for any kind of parking or bus looping, and I know we've had issues with traffic backing up on Main Street when Strong dismisses, so I'm just throwing that out there if anybody was.
It's a strange lot. It's, is that the rear lot?
It's two
Yeah,
lots,
it's two
actually.
lots, so
Yeah.
it's
And
an
it
uphill and
wouldn't
it's
be-
kind of like.
It would be market value. It wouldn't be anything, you know, we would pay market value, so.
I've got to do the bathrooms first.
I know, but I said I would bring it to the board and, you know, just keep that in mind if we ever have an issue with that, I don't know what it's gonna sell in. Thank you.
We're almost excited. Committee reports. Do you want to skip policy? Because you're going to talk about policy?
The policy committee did all this stuff on the next page.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'll move on to Bob again for building committee. It's always the Bob show. You have the Kim show and the Bob show.
That can do it.
Oh, no, you do such a great job.
Well, we already covered the first thing is the driveway to the baseball field is paved and it's being well used. We have proposals or design requests from the Jacobs on drainage along Pickett Lane, which if you go in from Maiden Lane, you can see that there's an issue and it needs to be addressed. We also talked about drainage on the top of the parking lot where the green barrier is. That needs to be addressed, move that water from sheet flow down off the parking lot into some other place. And that could be handled either pretty easily, how we looked at it in the state Forest and Parks didn't have any problem with us moving it. So, I think that's that, and we had a discussion of the turf, which is starting on the 17th. We had a discussion with what Kim just went over on the bathrooms. And the last thing is the pump house where we can meet the fire protection on this building without much change. There's some minor piping. And then they're gonna look at Strong separately, but I think they think there's not much involved in that. So we will have a decision of the bond funds that we had for the pump was like 600 something thousand. And we'll need to reallocate that to other bond projects or send it back, I guess, right?
Oh, I think that was capital reserve. I have to look at that. If it was
Yeah.
capital reserve, it'd just be reallocated to
Yeah.
the project.
I don't know, yeah, we under the project in the bond list, but I don't know, if it's capital reserve, we could move it to the bathroom,
Yeah, absolutely.
which might be,
Solve that problem.
might
Yeah.
be good as soon as we get the decision on what has to happen at Strong, so we may have a few $100,000 there that we could put into other capital projects, which would be very nice to
Do it all
get
in one
that
shot.
done. So. And I think that was it. I think
Bob show again on policy.
the drainage issue is
No.
probably the drainage issue is probably the biggest issue on.
Yeah, I'm popping up there for that. Next week.
That's it.
Oh, student achievement, just kidding. Bob, you have to take breaks.
Yep.
And my goal is to have a shorter report for me, yours, because it's always longer. The achievement committee met, we covered 3 areas. The math and literacy competencies were looked at that have been just recently developed. I believe all the board members received copies of those. The committee is going to continue to look at these competencies and how they're going to be implemented in the classroom. We looked at the district has, the high school has a platform for the students, for 11th grade students, for career and college readiness. It's called Naviance, but they were having some difficulties. The students were having difficulties accessing it. So they were looking into different platforms and they found that School Links is a better platform. And what these platforms do is they want issue-free access. It covers college applications, career planning, and self-discovery. It contains a profile. It helps with the capstone projects, and it helps with social emotional learning, alumni tracking, ongoing year after year, and good customer support. And pretty much Naviance covers all of that, which is why they're looking into using that. The last piece was we looked at some assessment data. We looked at current assessment data for two areas, the interim assessment blocks for math for grades 6 through 8 for the winter. And we looked at the current SAT scores. But the committee had a pretty long discussion about wanting to have more comprehensive data presentations that cover multiple years, perhaps up to 5 years, including all of the different testing that they use, benchmarks, and to have the same consistent format so that when we look at these from year to year, we're always looking at the same format with just addition of numbers. So I know Liza's been working on that. She just sent something out for me to look at, which I will pass on to Bob and Jamie and Lindsay and get some feedback before she moves forward. And
So
Linda.
that's it.
And Linda. Yeah.
No, and Dr. Darcy.
That's right, and Dr. Darcy. And I'm back.
If I can go back to the Naviance, I did express a little bit of concern about students giving up a lot of information about themselves, and I'm worried that they would be put on some list and get inundated with all kinds of emails. And Stephanie, I think you did say that's not the goal of it or the case. I just want to confirm that because, you know, privacy is really important. It's not something we should take for granted. People do too much, so.
Right. If anything we use has to conform with our student data privacy.
Yep. Okay, I'm done. Short report. That was great. I did it.
ACES update. So I haven't done one in a while. I've been at every meeting every month, but there hasn't been too much to report in regards to RSD 13. But Tom Denny, who's the executive director for ACES. You know me, I don't like to say no to things. So currently their policy chair. So right, just to add another. But it's been neat to see how policies are viewed at ACES and how they're really evaluating what policies need to be done. I mean, we're in a situation with our policies where we're reviewing giant sections because they just haven't been reviewed in quite a long time. But even some of the stuff along state statute, we've been able to, delay based on some guidelines by the state. So I'm going to give some feedback from there to policy on that. And again, because I don't say no to anything, I'm now the ACEs liaison to the Early Start Head Start program for ACEs. So that policy council meets once a month in Middletown, right down by Grace Lutheran Church. If you go past there and go down Washington Street, it's kind of like, there's roads in between there, but it used to be at Grace Lutheran, but now it's at their own facility down in Washington. And it's an amazing program that offers so much to families in Middlesex County, similar to Birth to Three, and they work really close with Birth to Three in the districts in the surrounding areas. And they're working on a lot of parent engagement and trying to get parents excited about their kids learning very early. And they're doing some bus trips for some of these families in Middlesex County. And they're going to be going to Hammonasset once a month. So during the summer, just to try to get a lot of the families that are struggling really from early age. And they have, it's amazing. We all know that Jen has some of the most stringent guidelines and statutes, but this policy council really has, it's a dive into what Jen does at that level and the home visits that they do with these families. And it's been, hopefully it's a lot of information I can bring back and give to the pre-K program and Jen, and some connections we can make with them. But they're all a great group of people. Besides that, it's amazing to see what happens in an organization like ACES, because they decided to close a building and build a building. And that was like 4 months ago. And we're now talking to the architects and they're looking at an implementation next year. They're able to do that. I said they're very jealous, and but it's neat to see a process, even though it's been fast forward. It's what we're doing, but we have those billion steps in between. So I can see it and fast forward. So if I can slow it down, I think it might help us along the way on that. But if anyone ever wants to come with me to one of those meetings, it's always the day after this meeting. So it's tomorrow at noon, but there's a virtual option for it too. I think I've Zoomed in a few times, but it's nice to go down, the big lunch, and Norm usually shows up every once in a while. So it's usually my chance to see Norm for, yeah. All I have on ACES. Board communication, professional development. I don't have too much on professional development, other than the other CAVE area directors, myself, the Madison chair and the Westbrook chair, Seth and Kim, are looking to host a chair and vice chair coffee at least a couple times during the year, so the chairs can get together and within our area, just to kind of either vent or throw ideas back and forth, and obviously welcome other board members. But it might give a chance, especially going to try to do it right after budget season, just to have a overview of how did everyone do during budget? Can we help? Is there anything that we can do collaboration wise? But it's been amazing to work with Madison. Seth and Kim and I have gotten pretty close on our board of directors, and they have a wealth of knowledge, and I've learned a lot. You learn by the mistakes of others, but you learn by their successes too. And even a lot of the projects that are going on in Madison, I've been able to learn from that one. I've been passing on a lot of that to the building committee. But yeah, if anyone ever wants to come with me, it's fun. And hopefully no one asks me to do anything more. That one.
They'll say
yes.
On communications.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any communications from Deb lately on the Friday reports, and that we get in the parents, the project.
The Friday
report every
updates from
Friday
the schools.
updates. I don't think we've seen any in the high school, and I know there's so much going on in the high school right now.
She doesn't send Friday updates. Only the other schools do that.
She has been up until a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they were, because they send their daily announcements home every day.
We don't get those either.
But we
Do
would,
you want those?
We
Well,
don't
it's our
want the
only,
daily
that's
announcement.
really the only way to find out what's going on at the high school
Okay.
unless we have
We don't-
students in our.
No, I'd be happy to ask her. I didn't
Oh, I get
realize
it
that.
because I have
Well, it's hard. I mean, you get them, but that's, I think that's what's hard. Even if maybe there's a weekly condensed version, if they're not gonna go home in the Friday updates, maybe there's a.
Yeah,
way
no,
to
I
have-
apologize. I thought that only the other schools were doing them.
No, I haven't seen anything in probably 4 months.
Yeah, I think so.
And, you know, like
Choose to send it.
the jazz concert next week, you know, I saw the sign, but I didn't see any, notice.
Yeah, I find Bob and I kind of go back and forth. We go, what's going on today? Or then I go to the Benchwarmers page to find out
Yeah.
what sports. Bob and I have been trying, Lucy too, have been trying to get to as many things as we can. That's early in the afternoons. And even looking at, watching some of these sports teams, that the track event was phenomenal. And you talk about coaches that made connections with these kids to see Mike Ford not only make connections with all of his athletes, but every coach, it seems that man knows everything about everybody. And you can see how much the kids really connect with him. I had, one of my sons who's interested in track walking around with me, and he was like, I'm excited, and it's good to see him excited,
I thought Doug was gonna jump the hurdles instead of.
Oh, yeah, and Doug was there, he was putting out hurdles and he didn't trip, so.
It's not that difficult.
Wait, did you
For some of
run
us.
them?
Well, hurdling them.
Did you
no,
run them?
No,
Oh,
He just
No,
placed them.
just placed them.
sometimes the kids are not so quick at, track meets are long. So if you don't get your hurdles on and off quickly, like,
It's
you
longer.
you lose the fans that are sticking around
Yeah.
anyway and wondering.
But there's 1,500 kids there, so it,
500 spectators. Yeah.
it's an amazing event to watch. And this year the weather was beautiful, so.
It was gorgeous. I mean, you don't realize, because it wasn't too warm, and
Yeah.
you don't realize, you don't think you need sunblock until you get home, and I'm like,
Red.
purple here, and everyone's texting like, oh my God, I'm all red. But I mean, it was really worth it, and I think it's a cultural thing, and I know that with track and running it just in college and in high school, it was always a great experience, but it was great to see all the parents and, like so many of these kids have connections with their competitors. I watched one of them, they've been competing since for the past 4 years. They just ran up and hugged each other, and they just lost, one just lost the other. And that's, I think, what the spirit of what this is all about. And they needs to see baseball. We've been at most of the baseball games, softball. Trying to think of.
Yeah, I was just missing, kind of when we had the kids here, we always got a sense of what's going on. But we don't get that right now unless you ask, and it'd be nice if she just said, kind of, this is what's going on.
Yeah, I can ask her, again, maybe you can verify, you're not getting Friday updates as a parent, are you? Because you're getting every daily
I'm
announcement.
getting a daily announcement.
Yeah, so the other schools are actually putting one together for parents. Are you asking that she put one together just for the board?
Well, we just need to know what's going on, because otherwise we're spending so much time hunting for the events.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Do you, for it to start, do you guys want to be added to the daily announcements?
No. I don't need a daily announcement, but
Because that's how they're promoting all these things.
Yeah.
well, I think last year we said that this was like a similar kind of concern last year, that so much was going on at the end of the year that we were kind of scrambling to figure out what schools were doing what. And there's a few I've missed at some of the other schools, so maybe, I'm willing to do the headwork on to look what events are coming up, but if we can
Yeah.
make like a master list for the board. So if there is something one of us can take time off for that they really want to be there for,
Yeah, I think it's important for the board members to attend to do what they can,
Oh, I agree.
And,
I think our main tool right now is that district calendar, which I hope has all this stuff on. It doesn't? Oh, okay.
You
We
can't
need to work
find,
on that.
you can't find that stuff on the calendar.
No. No,
sometimes
because
I
the
see that
problem
Cogashawk
is
Soccer has something like,
You have,
Red
then you
Deer.
have all the CIAC sports, and then it becomes.
Oh,
much
it's
too-
so muddled because there's so much.
It becomes too
Okay.
Yeah, the only
complicated,
way
so
to
don't put all of it on the district calendar, so,
right now, the only way to do is to go in between Instagram and
yeah.
Benchwarmers to figure out what sports are playing,
Yeah.
because the kids do, I mean, if you have Instagram, you're able to get on some of the student
And then it will go
athletic
on
pages.
apps or, yeah. you
Each
have
one has
to
a different
navigate
Instagram
different-
account, like track has one and baseball has one, and they'll post in the morning, track day this day.
The only way to be able to do it is, they do have that CT Sports app, but again, it needs to be something that is done within the district to do that. Otherwise, you have to go onto that app. to find out what sports are playing.
Yeah, I can't.
But we have a whole bunch of concerts coming up.
And,
Yeah.
and I know there was an issue last year because like games get postponed and changed. And so I think we all are okay with getting something that's not like gonna be 100%. We know that games might change. We can then verify if they're gonna be changed or not. We're not asking for that. And so like we just got a one for Step Up Day for the 8th graders on June 11th. I'd love to have everyone there who can be there.
Yeah, Cheryl sent that out today.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, just give it, just looking at.
Is the MTA graduation the
Yes.
same day? Normally it's the same day as the step up. That,
Oh,
everybody,
as Cheryl step up, I have,
I don't
you know
think
what, I
it
have
is.
to look,
Because Lucy and I went to it last year and I went to Step
yeah.
Up.
It's usually not at the same time.
No, it
Let
should
me
be
look,
in
I can.
That's
look
all right,
it up
I just-
confirm. Yeah,
those
If anyone
dates
can
are
go
coming up.
to that, that one's one of, it's so much
it is
fun.
wonderful, isn't it? Yeah. What was that?
The MTA
MTA,
graduation.
Oh,
Graduation.
We have
And I
Cog and
kind of
Chuck's,
that
we have
because-
Cog and Chuck students graduating. this year.
Exactly. Yes.
But they don't do it at the end. No, I guess they have to do it when.
No, it's now, no,
on
because it changed this
Oh.
year, so it's changed to the end of the year of their 22nd birthday, so we are at the end again.
Oh, so we
yes,
can
yeah,
still do
we'll
it.
have-
all-
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
that's
have,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have a graduation.
that was
Jen's
nice.
ever changing guidelines,
Yeah.
not Jen's guidelines, everyone else's.
No, not-
So long to get notification. That was, yeah, that was good. I enjoyed
Stay on
that.
your toes, that's all. Yeah, I'll find that.
There's an award, an awards night, and then there's scholarship night, and all those things are coming up.
Yeah, we just went to
Step
the
Up Day
reschedule.
is the day before the last day of school. That is 8th grade Step Up Day, the day
11th.
before the last day of school. I just got that head off the.
Yeah, Cheryl sent us that one today.
Cheryl, yeah. And let me look for MTA. I
That's
should
okay.
know that off the top of my head, I don't.
That, you don't need it, these are examples
Yeah.
that I was interested in more of the bigger stuff that's not there.
No, I hear exactly what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
I have the same problem. And again, obviously, so, yeah, navigating several different calendars and trying different, trying to find all the different
Lucy
events.
And I
so.
were at the last, I think John, we're at the last awards banquet but they rescheduled due to the flood in the auditorium. And they have the next one, I believe, is when,
After the baseball season.
no, I think they just,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
the
just
event form has
sent
just
something
posted it,
out.
May,
That's in
June.
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Well, we can all figure that out, and I'll make sure we get whatever we can, to go to that. But it was nice, they did thank us, for their support for the student athletes and the coaches, so it'll be important to have.
And I know that, there was some CAVE awards, and I know there's superintendent awards coming up, and we just, I don't read the names, we just need to know that those are gonna be handed out, or,
I know
That
they
will be our
are,
next, at our next
Yeah.
board meeting. Yeah.
I just heard
I got
that
them.
one of the recipients, so.
I was at, our board of directors meeting, they handed me the recipients, so I do have those. Very, very good choices, by the administration on those. Any other communications? Anything anyone went to that we didn't miss?
No, I just want to say my granddaughter just came home from college for the semester. And she had participated in the community forum that we had at Memorial when we were discussing 3 different options. So she said to me, what was decided? So I told her and I showed her the film, the video. She was very impressed, very impressed. Yep.
And I think, too, we probably could have mentioned it during the budget, but there did seem to be a bit of confusion yesterday on the budget, whether people were voting on the memorial project or not at the polls. So it's a good learning experience for us. I mean, it's very hard to kind of like separate that out to explain it to people. But we might be able to talk to the towns about, I don't know what they'll do to promote or put up the referendum. We
Can you
can't.
repeat that? They were confused about.
They were confused that they were voting on the memorial project and not the budget, or both.
The
that
ballot
day.
actually said you're voting on the budget.
No, I know, but they anticipated to come there to vote on that.
Ah.
And so then they got there and they were confused.
Understood.
And it was a good chunk of people, so it's worth mentioning. All right. On that one, new business review of board goals and objectives. Those that don't have a computer, I had, thankfully, Ken went and printed some copies for me. Because while I was looking for my dog who's missing, I forgot to print some copies.
We get an update on that.
I haven't looked.
You need one back?
Yes, please. One down to, I have it on my computer, so I can send that down if Stephanie wants it. And if you're on a computer, I sent it to you. Sorry. So if you have, you can open that. So Bob and I sat down and we kind of brainstormed what we thought based on the committees and what has gone on over the course of this year and what we may want to see for goals and objectives moving forward. And a lot of it was a retooling of and wording of our goals under our pillars, the student achievement, well-being, engagement, and fiscal oversight. So we can do two things. I did put it as a discussion and possible vote. You know, if we want to go through now and brainstorm any changes or corrections, or if you want to take more time to mull it over and give suggestions, we then could approve it for the June meeting. But I thought it'd be good for us to at least start to go through it. If there was anything, if there's things we can add those now and still approve them today. Under student achievement, it's a lot of the same goals. A review of our strategic plan and adopt a course of action to be followed beginning January 2025. A look at 3 through 8 combined SBAC scores in ELA, math, and high school, which is it's just a copy of what was there before, our goals and objectives before, just to revisit those. And a continue to support the elective offerings at, it should say at both Strong School and Frog and Chub, so I'll make that change. Long-term objectives, grades 3 through 8 combined SBAC scores to go above the 70% of the DIRT. And a long-term goal, and this is going to be a task for student achievement. I know we've talked about it before, but to be in compliance with the state statute for curriculum committee, we're going to start to look at the K through 12 curriculum as a goal and objective to recommend, develop, review, and approve math, ELA, science, and social studies curriculum, and just really take a look at what currently we have in our curriculum and what needs to be recommended to change or improve, along with administration. It's not just the student achievement committee, it would be Stephanie and Liza and obviously Doug, but it would be run through our student achievement committee, which is considered our curriculum committee. And Doug and I have talked about that before.
Yeah, and we talked about it at our staff meeting this week, so I think there's gonna be a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot of information, but I feel better that there's a lot more there that we can bring to the committee. And then it'll just be like, how much time do people have to spend to dig into it?
And part of that, you know, comes from a discussion between Bob and I and looking at, you know, when you go to our website, we open the learning tab. It goes to our pacing guides and if you go in there, you know, the understanding is that's what they're learning in those grades. And we want to make sure what we're representing is what the students are learning, and we want to make sure that what they're currently learning aligns with that, or if it needs to be changed, you know, we will work hard to do that. Like I said, it's a tall order, but I do have a pretty good structure from CABE, how a couple of districts had done it recently. So I think that they'll be a great tool to have come. Their liaison from CABE that does a lot of this work is willing to come down and sit with student achievement and kind of give us some advice, and I think that'll be great. Well-being, a lot of this is very similar to the goals, not that we haven't met them before, but to continue to evaluate, determine any priority, safety and security enhancement needs. And again, a lot of that goes to the capital improvements and things that we are doing now, and even looking at the PA systems and that being, you know, just passed in the budget, that's going to improve the safety of our students at those schools. But, this is something Bob and I had talked about to establish an action-based ad hoc committee. So this wouldn't be a standing committee like it was before with well-being. But what would be an ad hoc with staff and students, but action-based. We have certain actions that the board wants well-being to look at. And they go through those actions and make it so it's a comfortable environment for staff and students that we have on that committee, as well as board members. So it becomes a place where we can actually give advice to the board on how to improve well-being without it being, for lack of a better word, a committee of public comment or misinformation or frustrations. We really just want to make sure that the board can support climate as well as possible. And we can work really hard with the district climate committee. Lucy and I have been meeting with them. We just had a meeting, and I think we just talked about Jen coming and talking about climate next month, which, is great.
See that email yet?
No.
I sent it earlier.
I think we meet at the end of May again, so this will
Yes,
give
and
2
I-
meetings
yes, I
that
was
we've
thinking,
been.
I was anticipating that anyway. so-
Yeah, no, I had said to Doug, if you didn't want to, I could do a report next month, but, Jen said she can.
Okay.
But I think we want a little bit more, and our staff is doing so much. I mean, we sit on these district climate meetings and I have so many questions. We only get an hour. So I think the information we get from there, can really help make some, action-based decisions for the board on well-being, that might be lacking. And just to supplement well-being, review awards and other forms of recognition the district uses to ensure the support of well-being. We've seen a lot of that at Strong School. We've seen them do these awards. They've been sending out these cards based on the core ethical values, and really doing a retooling of that. And it's helped the kids a lot. We've seen a lot of confidence boost. Even my own kids, when they come home, and a teacher that I normally have kind of hard time with sends a note home and a postcard that says, hey, you were honest today. So it'd be nice to see how that's implemented or that strategy is implemented at the other schools, especially when we're looking to be down to one school. How can we merge what all of those elementary schools are doing in one school, and try to take the best of the best from a well-being perspective on that. Review current and honest reporting mechanism for safety and well-being concerns. This might be an easy short-term goal because we already have something in place that people can report to. There has been a little bit of ask from the public, and maybe we could look into somehow making it more anonymous so that the kids feel a little bit more comfortable, I guess, at the middle school and the high school level, to be able to report something serious that they think maybe they don't, they're hesitant to report, and possibly can look at Durham Youth and Family Services and utilizing them in what they do. Review RSD 13's extracurricular offerings to ensure the offerings appeal to a broad cross-section of the student body. And Bob and I are looking at this, and this is a past goal, just to make sure that when we look at Strong School, if we can do more extracurriculars aside from electives, I'm talking about after-school clubs. There's this huge amount of students that go up to the high school and they finally find their sport. They find track or they find tennis. And if we could possibly do, something on that level where we're getting these kids more involved in some sort of extracurriculars as opposed to going home and playing video games, and maybe that will improve.
And so they don't walk down the dairy serve after school and they do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that might be a good way for that action-based well-being committee to be able to brainstorm ideas and say, hey, and with the understanding that not everything is doable, and some things involve budget and may have to wait, but we can look at some actions that are long-term and short-term. Engagement, this is most of these were just retooling of past objectives. Host a community conversation with members of the board twice annually starting next year. This started a little bit before COVID, but it would be nice to see. I know the high school does the coffee with the principals, but just to be able to get a few of us out there and hopefully have some constructive and kind communication and conversations, I think it will be important. Conduct an employee student employee engagement survey. And again, this was there from before, and I know that there's been some controversy on that one, on whether we can do that, but, you know, it's something Bob and I had said we would like to just see if we could. Publish community newsletter no less than twice annually. So we're looking at doing that quarterly. Bob used to do them when he was chair. I've yet to do it. I was ready to do it just before, this whole referendum. So there's a lot of information that I want to, that's in there that has some advocacy guidelines. So I don't want, but I want the public to see. So we'll wait until June, and hopefully at the end of the year, we can send that out. I'll make sure the board gets a copy of it. Most of you have seen it. But I want to make sure that we've got the school, every school represented in those newsletters. Our PTOs, what they're up to, what sports are up to, a lot in the guidelines of similar to when they were, our student reps were coming to speak to us, and so we kind of knew what was going on. I want the community to see that as well. Invite new community members to attend board committees. So this was on there before. I don't know how much of it was done, but it would be neat to find out from the towns who's just moved in, and maybe that information. I don't know if what information they could give us, but it would be nice to engage with new families or new community members. Communicate with the PTOs on a regular basis. We've been doing a lot of that this year just based on the reconfiguration, but I do think it's really important. They all have new officers, so hopefully we can continue to keep that. Communicate regularly with parent and community booster organizations, athletic, music, and the arts program. So bench warmers, POPs, that whole group. We want to make sure that they do so much for our students, musicians, student athletes. We want to make sure that we're working hard with them in alignment with what we're doing. See, it's getting late. Set and leverage CABE resources to enhance board functioning. Again, I'm biased, I think, because I'm on their board of directors now, but there's a lot of things from CABE that we really haven't been using. And CABE's done a really great job at modernizing what the needs are of boards, and giving us those resources. There should be a huge packet of information. They've got a new policy council that will, they'll come out and go through policies with us. I know we have shipments policies, but if we have a question on policies, we can tell them the day before and they'll send somebody out to a meeting.
One of the things about CABE is that prior to COVID, they were kind of passive.
Yeah.
And during COVID, they were the source of so much information along with CAPS.
Yeah.
It changed their relationship with, I think, the state and the boards did. And, you know, I'm really impressed about, you know, the change that they made during COVID to keep us all informed. And they would have meetings every Tuesday, you know, they'd be 2 hours long, and they provided tons of information about what was going on in every level. And I think that's carried over to their current management, and they have really grown it as a better organization.
Yeah, their executive director, Patrice, I mean, at the drop of a hat, she'll answer my call, and she's answering the calls of every board in the state. So he's just phenomenal. The new president for CABE, Leonard Lockhart, is on the Windsor Board of Education, and he is not only just an amazing person, but when you talk about public speaking and being able to bridge the gap of politics and parties, you know, he has a board of directors that are from every single walk of life, and he's really engaged with all of us, and he listens, and he wants to hear the concerns, and he wants to make sure that CABE represents everybody. So it's been great to see on that. Establish enhanced communication with parents in the community. A lot of that kind of ties into engagement with the newsletters and seeing how we can really reach more families, and not just families, our seniors. And this has been a big part of this whole project, and what I call my community journey. And this is I've met with a lot of the different groups in both towns, and these seniors in both towns, they want to know what's going on. They're there down for Durham. They're down at this community center for their lunches weekly. They've got all sorts of games going on, cardio drumming. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that, but they are, they actually stopped that to have a chat with me, a couple weeks ago. And a lot of them are on boards and commissions. So I think our work with the seniors in advocacy and communication, is something that's been missing. We do a really good job at sending things out and, digitally, but we need to get the print to the seniors. And I know it's expensive, and I know paper is not something I even like to buy, or ink at this point. But I do think it's gonna go a long way in support from the community on projects, and I just love them. They're adorable.
We have everything in place right now. If anybody knows of that, any of our high school students going over to assist or go over there during the day.
Yep, so Strong's Edge program has been down there. They served lunch for the seniors when I was there last week, and like it's amazing to see some of these kids just sit down with seniors and just like start yapping and talking about their lives. And some of these seniors, yeah, a lot of them have friends, but a lot of them don't, and they're, you know, a lot of them are widows, and you know, they want to just talk and hear, and the kids bring you see one of them couple walking grumpy, and they're leaving excited and happy, and the kids feel proud of themselves. Like they all left super proud. It was cool to see. I'm not sure. I know that they would love to connect with you, like the really littles, because you know, I love that. And there's a huge library down at the community center, and I know that Middlefield has the same, and libraries will obviously collaborate that. But I think if we leverage all of our groups in both towns and get out there, I think that community engagement is going to be important. It's been fun, and I have to say that I haven't met many people that we've come across in this whole engagement that have been, you know, rude or tough. I'm finding if we stay off the internet, people are kind, and it's hard to do because so many people. It does take a lot to be able to get places, and a lot of people don't necessarily go to the community center or go to certain events. So I know that there's a group we're not meeting, maybe that they're home more often than not. Maybe we can meet them in print, but yeah, I feel much better when I know I'm going somewhere in person, because people do want to listen and they do care. The internet's a tough place to be. It's not always a fun place. Fiscal goal. This is again a rehashing of our fiscal goals that were there for the short term before. Establish a responsible capital budget plan for the district's current and planned infrastructure needs and recommend a financing approach. Ensure thorough and accurate financial impact assessments are part of the visioning utilization decision to be taken, and develop a protocol for identifying budget items in relation to one or more of our goals. And assure that RSD 13's budgetary spending aligns with our goals and objectives. I can answer most of those already, and it's nice to see. I think we're meeting most of those. But again, continued goals that we really should be looking at and making sure that it's happening. And I don't necessarily worry about that with Kim. So thank you for meeting nearly all of these before I even read them. So appreciate it. One thing that's not on here, and I think it was before that Bob and I had sat down, you know, that we want to make sure, and we, you know, everyone heard the public comment the other night about, you know, a concern with science in our district, and outdoor education. And, you know, it's nice to hear somebody talk so wonderfully about our district, and then it pains to say that that's not there. So I would like to add to, I guess it's under student achievement, to analyze the outdoor education stipend program planning, and if that is meeting the needs of the district. If it's not, maybe that's a long-term budgeted goal to bring back, and just evaluate what's been done in the past and what we currently want to bring into the future, especially with Memorial's pre-K-5. You know, I think looking back on it, and you know, there's a good point when our math scores and our ELA scores were down. Science and music kept the district up, and you know, positive and excited, and it may be something to really look at. If everyone is okay with adding that. Yeah. Dr. Darcy,
Mm.
are there any suggestions?
Oh, heck yeah.
I
So
love
glad
your,
you asked.
I'm ready for it.
All right. And these are conversations, right?
Yeah.
One of them is, I would like to see us move away from referencing the DERG for a couple reasons. One is the state doesn't use them anymore. It's a false equivalency.
Yeah.
And number two, because I don't want to compare Region 13 to other regions. I
Right.
want to compare Region 13 data to Region 13 data. I want to know, are our scores trending upward? Are we seeing an improvement? Are we using the data to improve instruction? And so rather than comparing and setting a goal based on a percentage of the DERG, I'd like it to be based on change and hopefully an upward trend of data.
Perfect.
So that's.
And I knew when we put that in, it was a copy and paste from the other goals,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I know Linda will go for it. So.
Darcy's gonna be on it.
We had a presentation years ago from a gentleman named Ari from the State Department of Education. He was not at all a proponent of doing the DERG comparisons at all. I just
trying to
haven't
get
done it.
Right.
Right, yeah.
It's non-existent.
I also,
I think that was just there to show growth,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
show improvement.
A baseline.
So I would
Yeah.
love for Dr. Darcy to give us a wording on growth for those,
yeah. Okay.
3 and 5.
And some of those comparisons
And
also were used in the
long-term.
bigger cities to highlight the inequities, and that was part of the whole thing, why they did it so much. Need more funding for these towns, less for you guys.
I'm also, this is, like, I am pretty opposed to establishing a gifted and talented program. It's,
It actually was on there. I don't know if that was under.
Fine.
No, I have the original one.
why? Historically, they've been used to further separate the children of involved parents from children of uninvolved parents. It is largely parent influence and involvement that gets a kid tested. And, well, I'm sorry, every kid's tested. We have to identify gifted and talented. We don't have to have a program for them. So when I think of tight budgets and where money needs to be spent, God bless these kids. I was not one of them. However, that shouldn't be our priority. You know, our priority should be looking to make sure that all kids are given what they need to excel personally and academically. So this would drain money off of kids who are doing fine. And it would drain money off for kids who are doing fine and gonna be fine. It also requires a certain definition of what is gifted and talented. Because is that going to include the artist who is nonverbal? Is it going to include a talented engineer type auto mechanic? Or is it going to focus on traditional definition of gifted and talented? It's a real rabbit hole. And districts who are concerned about serving all students and giving them what they need to succeed, people don't do gifted and talented.
When is the start of that usually evaluated?
We're evaluating starting in 4th grade.
It's not
Yeah,
always
it
a
can
positive
start
stigma
anytime
when we hear that
in
term.
terms of a
People
referral.
sometimes say, oh, that's another category of student, and it's not
And it's
always
still
perceived
called
as
that, right?
positive.
It's still called the talented.
Gifted and talented, there's some different districts call them different things.
Gifted and talented, so we're bound to look at it in terms of determining students.
So would you
may
prefer to say
qualify.
about-
We regularly recognize kids who are gifted in sports. Regularly, all the time.
Yep.
And we provide avenues for them to show their gifts. But we have a student who writes a novel or a book and nobody knows about it. We have, other kids who are developing a huge music concerto, somebody's written a whole new jazz thing. And we don't know about it. And yet those kids aren't getting any real extra support in their effort.
But
And
a student who writes a novel is not necessarily going to be identified as gifted and talented.
perhaps they're not, but perhaps they would be. And is there an avenue where those kids who are excelling, we don't hold them back by not having programs that deal with their capabilities?
And one way that some districts will do a gifted and talented program
This is discussion for another night.
right, but is everyone participates. That it's part of an elective cycle in middle school and everyone goes through it. I'm cool with that. And a lot of them are like they do project-based learning or whatever, so that so that kids can find their own place. My challenge is that kids get left out. And so and look, you don't want to get me started on recognizing athletes and the money that goes into it. But a lot of kids get left out who are talented. Like, if you look at how many different ways Ramzuli says you can be talented, and the gifted and talented programs usually just focus on academic. And so you leave out all of these other kids.
Yeah, I don't say we should leave out those other things. I think we need to have a longer discussion on this.
That's what I'm saying. So added will evaluate our gifted and talented program,
Sure.
your student achievement.
So that would require.
We don't have a program.
Right, and so,
Right now.
yeah, so.
Okay, so,
Right now, we just have identification.
so
We can evaluate
evaluate the need.
or
And enrichment. We do have peer enrichment.
Okay.
But
Okay.
not-
Do
not-
you have, you have wording on
Staff for enrichment.
the change for 2 and 5, or do you want to give me that later?
Oh, I'm gonna have to think harder on that.
Yeah, okay.
It was circle.
Yeah,
I will
circle,
put-
arrows.
I've been watching.
I will put
I said,
pending Linda's
But entertaining.
wording, but it is, that goal stays the same, it's just a wording change. Next. More circles, any more circles?
Oh, actually, page 2 is not so bad.
There's only one, but there's a star, like it's the only one with the star.
What's
And-
the star mean?
This star means make sure you say something.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just curious that in the well-being goal, if and again, do we want to talk about putting something in there about professional learning opportunities for teachers to prepare them? And the way I wrote it was to prepare them to have difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Because the incidences are happening, the teachers have to deal with them. And I don't know that the teachers are equipped to deal with them.
And I think we're hearing that a little bit, and Linda and I had talked about it a lot, about Lucy, and especially looking at some, some of even the modules for ELA. I think it's very tough for some of these teachers to have those conversations around a lot of these topics, and not that we haven't offered PD on it before, but really some strong, and again, something you might already have an idea on, to allow these teachers to really consistently across the board, not just, I know some teachers are very good at it, they've had outside PD, or it's an experience they've had in their life, but to be able to have everyone have the same toolkit to be able to have those conversations, will save the district in astronomical ways, from support for students to incidents that could happen, things that we could avoid based on that professional development. And it should be something we're offering, and not something that
And we
they should
need to
do on their own.
prepare the kids to leave our tiny little towns, right? They're gonna leave the bubble. And they need to know how to leave the bubble.
I'm
So
sure
that
you
was just
have-
something that I thought about as far as the well-being. goal.
I mean, that we can add that into that ad hoc committee. That can be an action for one of the ad hoc committees to really identify and use the doctor's brain on what might be needed.
I think the teacher support is critical.
And I mean, not just even the teachers, most of these, most of the coaches, interventionists, special ed, like, they're all meeting with kids one-on-one. They need to know how to have those conversations too, even from all district employees.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, even non-certified, the first people that the public interact with are often left out of these conversations, and they're the first line that parents or community members interact with. And if you're new to a town in Connecticut, it is not always a very welcoming place. I don't just mean us. I mean, anytime you move from one town to another in Connecticut, they want to know who you're related to, who, oh, are you from town? Are you, they want to know what your connection is. And so if you're not from town, that first interaction with people in government or schools is not always welcoming. And I'm not specifically thinking about anything in our district. It's just my experience in other districts.
Yeah, we talk a lot about setting teachers, students up for success outside of here, but we want to support our teachers so they can be successful here, and set them up for success and all those avenues too. I like the star, no more circles.
No more circles, no more arrows, stars, a couple of arrows, just that one star.
John's smiling. I think there might be more.
No, she hit it.
Did John have any circles?
No circles.
No circles. Good thoughts. So I think we're okay. You can make a motion pending the 2 language changes on student achievement, from Linda, to accept the 2024-2025 Board of Education goals and objectives.
How did you rewrite the number 4 on student achievement?
I will take anything that you want, but I did put about scroll down. Evaluate professional development for teachers to have difficult conversations.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, on the front page, the student achievement number 4 about the gifted and talented.
Oh,
How
yeah,
did you
evaluate the need for gifted and talented enrichment program.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion approved, Bob? Is there a second?
Second.
John?
Reluctant.
Wow, I was hoping the doc was gonna jump in.
Look, I saved that for adjournment.
And so everyone knows, I won't call roll call on that one because Moore had to leave. So I will, no discussion. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Now on to,
Are you
I did
ready?
my big thing and then.
The spring, sports banquet's June 4th.
I knew it.
June 4th.
It's not.
We're going fast here now, so
You did say it was gonna be fast.
Well, luckily I'm on the policy committee, so I get it all out of the system there.
Item B1, these were the second reading, and we need to vote on the admission age attendance admission to public schools before the age of 5 and nepotism. If you don't remember what we did, we made some minor adjustments to make sure people could get a chance to talk to their 5-year-olds in kindergarten. And nepotism, we made a minor change to allow family members of employees and board to work on short-term jobs. You have a motion to adopt those 3?
Almost. Second.
Any
We
comment?
lost your chance.
Is this the one, is this the second read on?
Just do the first
Just
3.
doing A, B, and C, part 1.
Oh, okay.
A, B, and
No
C.
discussion.
All set?
Yep. Good.
Second read on the, these are.
Do we want to do a vote on that?
Yeah, we'll vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The second read on the next group, we went over 2 weeks ago, 2 meetings ago. 1 meeting ago. Again, quickly, the first one was a deletion, the second one was adoption, the third one was a deletion. The fourth one was keeping the current Board of Ethics. There were some changes in the language on from I will to just verbs. Standing committee was amended. We kept the community member participation. We adopted a conflict of interest. We deleted the policy and regulation systems. We deleted the policy formation. We adopted the request for information board members, the role of board members. There are a number of changes in that one. Some language that Chipman had, we deleted, and some portions of it we adopted. The delete L, we deleted M, we deleted N, and we adopted O. Anybody, I can answer any questions.
It's funny,
If there
because
are any-
we were all at.
Yeah, we were
policy.
all there.
Yeah. Was it us?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so
our group,
funny.
Yeah. Right, so I'll take a motion to approve, A through O on second read on the 9,000 series.
So moved.
This, I said Lucy, Dr. Darcy. Second.
second.
Lucy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Onward, Bob.
The next one are more mechanical. The first is we recommending deleting construction of the agenda 9323 and adopting the shipment version of construction and posting the agenda. There's quite a bit more information in there on how it works. The second is the duties of the chairperson. We deleted that and adopted the official duties of the chairperson, and which is a little bit more complex. The second, we on item E, we deleted the current duties of the secretary and treasurer and adopted F and G. The from Shipman, the official duties of the secretary and treasurer. Item H, we are recommended to adopt a new policy establishing a vice chairperson. This will need a vote if we do this. So if we adopt this policy that says there's a vice chair, we would then have to vote for a vice chair later on. But this policy just says we can have one.
And so that's the first read on that one. Second read would be in June. And then that would set us up to be able to have an election for that position in July. It's been a suggestion, you know, from Cabe, to make sure that you have really strong executive committee. And I do think it's, mostly the way that the boards are going, even looking at boards and commissions in our own town, there's usually a vice chair. And it gives us a lot more avenue to be able to have, you know, those discussions. And I hope it's something we all support. And with a new vacancy on the board, and now we'll have to do officer elections again in July anyway. So it'd be a good time to do all of them if we so choose.
I don't think you do. Have we checked on that? Because I thought we
It's
looked
the
at it.
spirit of is that you always do officer elections after the last person's elected for the calendar year. And since this is a vacancy election at town meeting, we should honor it and do an election. in
Okay,
July.
yeah, I think you can. I thought we looked that up and
I just-
maybe we
if-
I thought we
misinterpreted.
should do it at the other.
If we didn't have the vacancy, then we wouldn't. But I think someone could muddle and say that we're not going to do that, but I think we should, with past practice, we should involve vacancies with that, if the board's okay with that.
The next is electronic participation on board meetings. We deleted that because we've covered it in about 6 places.
Yeah.
And we added the meeting conduct, which is one of the places where it conducts, has a record, has electronic participation. The last page of that, or page 6 of that one, it talks about public addressing the board. We made changes to the Shipman one to just say 3 minutes may be allotted to each speaker, period. They had it in a maximum of 3 minutes on each subject matter, and we deleted that portion. And we also deleted on the last portion, all speakers must identify it by the name and address. We changed it to the name and town as the only one. Delay. The next is K, Robert's rules. We deleted that. We deleted the quorum. We adopted the quorum, recommending adopting the quorum and voting procedures under Shipman, which covers those two things. We had actions by the board. We were talked about it, but we ultimately recommend delete it. And delete the meetings in public executive session. We adopted the public meetings and executive session by Shipman. And again, they're just more modern. They include state law and adjustments. We deleted public participant board meetings because we already covered it in the previous one. We deleted the minutes of the Board of Ed meetings from 93 and adopted the Shipman minutes, which gives us basically authority to just cover votes in our minutes, but our minutes, try to go back in our minutes would be very difficult. We deleted T, notice of meetings. We recommending adopting time, place, and notice of meeting Shipman. It also includes the notice for electronic and all that stuff is included in that one. We deleted the regular meetings of the Board of Education. That's covered in one of the many other ones that we've had. We deleted the organizational meeting of the Board of Ed. That is basically about voting. We added the officers included in the organizational meeting, and that there was a change in that we eliminated the number 2 on that one is out, and so if you want to take a look at that, that's there. New is removal of board officers. That's a new one. Basically says if you're really screwing up, we can get rid of you. Which is tricky because since you're voted in, there would be some concern about that. So, but it's something that Shipman says we can do, so we'll work with it. On the transaction of business, I have a note that we didn't adopt that. I don't remember why, but right now I'm really looking at my notes.
I think it was incorporated into another policy.
Yeah, I think we had plenty of other policies that cover it. We deleted AA, deleted vacancies, and we adopted filling of vacancies, which is what we're faced with right now.
Yeah, can I take that one real quick? So we had actually gone through this policy before we even knew there was a vacancy, but it's not our policy. I just want to make it clear because there was some confusion and some communication from someone on when we talk about the internet, was on the internet that that the Board of Education was implementing a policy to fill vacancies. And I just want everyone to know the reason we went through this policy even before then is the 9000 series. And what we replaced it with is Shipman's policy on the state statute to fill vacancies, which I discussed at the beginning. So I want everyone just to understand, I know that it's on our agenda to fill a vacancy, but many of our policies we have in place are just a representation of state statute. So that's just
the concern. I think the concern in that one was that for the people who are elected by vote of the full organization, not at town meeting, like the ones in Middlefield and Durham is elected at their general election. It says it can be
determined by the legislative body. So there was confusion as to whether the legislative body meant the 3 Board of Selectmen. But what that means is actually the people. That's an election of the people. So
in Durham, the town meeting is the legislative body, not the Board of Selectmen. But some towns, the council, other organizations become the legislative body, but not in Durham.
I had a question about the Shipman. And it has in there a paragraph on if you have members at large, right, that don't. And I'm just wondering if I'm fascinated, do you know, does our charter
No.
allow? So I'm just, and I don't care, but do we want to keep that part in it? Or do we want to eliminate that, the wording
yeah,
about?
we probably should if it's not something, and I think those member at large, usually town councils, like Common Council, Middletown, I think that's their members at large that sit on, but that-
Right, that are, yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we want to not muddy the waters and have that
I
in.
would delete it.
Yeah.
Recommend deleting that section of that
Yep.
as well.
yeah.
Which-
Yeah, sometimes even Shipman tells us when they send us over something, and sometimes we have to change and make some corrections.
You make,
Just because we're not
can you make sure Meg gets that? Oh,
That's on the filling
first,
vacancy.
number one, yeah.
Yeah.
The Shipman policy for filling a vacancy.
BB.
On CCDD, we recommended to delete, covered by other sections. The oath of office, we kept, even though we're given the oath of office by the town, our town clerks, not by the board, but
Yeah,
we didn't hurt to keep it. The orientation of board members is something that we do just for new members. We kept that and we deleted remuneration of board reimbursements of board members, and we adopted the II by Shipman, which said that
II.
we make you go someplace, we'll pay for your lunch.
I know that.
Yeah, really.
Huh?
John.
I got a year left, I got a year left to rank up some
We have
bills.
to make you go though.
Yeah, have to be sent on a specific mission.
Do not send me in.
So that's just the first read on those. We don't need a vote on those, but take a look at them before we go to the next one, and I'll add it to separately from the policy to add a vote on that vice chair. So make sure you take a look at it. If you guys are okay with it, we'll vote on it. If not, then we'll keep the way it is.
We start on 5,000 next.
Yep.
I think.
Fun times.
If anybody wants to be there on the 15th.
Love me some 5,000 series.
Huh?
I love me some 5,000
Most of the
series.
people here are pretty regular to policy.
Yeah. Oh, it's there.
Jen will
Okay.
be there.
I'll be there.
A lot of help
So at
related.
this time, and we're pretty good. It's only 8:15. There was a lot on there. Public comment, I know there's none in the room and there's none online. I'll close public comment if anyone else in the room. And with that, Doctor?
I would like to move for adjournment.
Second.
Dr. Garcia, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Got a lot done. Wow. We really did. Good for us. See you at 16.